much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, the Premier, this question is to the acting Premier. Speaker, the Premier wrote Ontario's electoral reform bill without any actual consultation, and now we see the results. Yesterday, the Ontario's Chief Electoral Officer said the Liberal legislation would restrict advertising that has nothing to do with elections. The so-called activist centre Premier wrote legislation that would put significant restrictions on parents concerned with autism or people calling for the cleanup of grassy narrows, but no restrictions on partisan government ads. This is exactly why a non-partisan panel should have consulted with experts before drafting this legislation. Will the acting Premier commit to making significant changes to this Liberal plan?
Well, I don't think, Speaker, that the member opposite really need to a lecture on how the parliamentary process works. I think she's quite aware. She's been a member for some time. That when a matter is before a committee, of course, the members of the committees have the opportunity to make changes to that particular bill. In this particular instance, Speaker, we have.
Carry on, please.
Speaker, in this particular matter, we have taken a very open, transparent, and credible process to ensure that that Ontarians across during the summer months have the opportunity to provide their point of views. Yesterday, the Ontario's Chief Electoral Officer presented at the committee. Yes, Speaker, he noted that our proposed legislation represents the most significant redesign of Ontario election finance law in more than 40 years, and we thank the officer for his testimony yesterday.
Supplementary.
So the process is flawed. The legislation is flawed. Back to the acting Premier. In addition to raising significant concerns with how the Premier's office has decided to restrict advertising that may actually have nothing to do with elections, the Chief Electoral Officer said he was concerned about whether Liberal legislation treats government advertising as political advertising or whether the Liberals are exempting it. This is a legitimate concern. The Liberals created a loophole for themselves to flood the airwaves with publicly funded self-promotional ads, but they're putting tight limits on nonpartisan ads about issues of public concern, like grassy narrows or autism therapy or climate change. Will the Premier be using her majority to push through a flawed piece of legislation?
Thank you.
Well, Speaker, it's very interesting to hear from the NDP who refused to engage and participate in the process that resulted in the creation of the legislation because they were more interested, Speaker, to stall the process so they can continue with their $10,000 private fundraisers as they continue to do. Right. NDP has to, Speaker, needs to come out clean. This is what the Chief Electoral Officer, Speaker, said yesterday. He said that he's supportive of our decision, the government decision, to refer the bill to the committee immediately for first reading. And he remarked, and I quote, "This provides both the committee and the people who appear before it the opportunity to consider the legislation from first principles." Speaker, we are using the democratic institutions to ensure that the people of Ontario has a voice. It's time.
Finish, please.
Speaker, it is time that NDP stops haggling and start participating in this democratic process and making sure that we reform the election financing rules in this province. Thank you.